Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Today is September 9th, 2011. It's a Friday. We are talking with Dr. Jagan Pahuja. We are doing the interview in Long Island. Dr. Pahuja, now when people call, what's your desh, what's your home, what do you say?
Well, I would call India.
Right, of course.
Because when I was born in 1936, it was called India.
Yes.
And my ancestors had been living in that part of the country for centuries and generations after
time
generations.
Zero. From
yeah.
time zero.
Yeah, so
then
at that time it was called India.
Yeah,
so,
it's in the Sindh province?
Punjab.
Punjab.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the name of the, is it a village or a town that you grew, that you...
Well, I was born at a place called Kachaku, which is not too far from big cities Multan.
Multan, okay.
Yeah, so Multan, from Multan to Kachaku is approximately 50 kilometers.
50 kilometers.
50 kilometers.
So, how was the place like where you grew up, Kachaku?
Kachaku, actually after birth, my father was a teacher.
Teacher.
So my mother was a teacher too.
Okay.
So we lived there and he was in a government job. So he, of course, was moving place to place depending wherever he get the assignments.
Okay.
So we lived there as far as I remember when I was up to 3-4 years old.
Okay.
And then we moved to a place called Kusumsar.
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 Where is that?
Kusumsar is approximately 100 kilometers from Multan.
North, south, east, west?
It's the south.
South, towards...
actually it is more east.
East, okay.
South,
so
east.
Towards Indian Rajasthan
towards,
border?
Yeah, towards the Indian side.
Rajasthan border?
Not Rajasthan border, towards Punjab side, yeah.
Okay.
But it was like close to 100 kilometers.
Okay.
Southeast, I could say that. Yeah.
Do you remember how was Kachaku? Have you ever visited after that?
No, I visited recently in 2005.
Kachaku also?
Kachaku also.
And
Kusumsar also.
Kusumsar also.
And I went to Multan also.
Okay.
I visited all those places which I remember.
Did you live in Multan, your family?
Yeah, my father was teacher in Multan also. So he used to be a teacher at Multan, Kachaku, Vihari, Kusumsar.
Okay.
So I was born in Kachaku. At the age of 3 or 4 we moved to Kusumsar. So I don't have that much recollection about Kachaku, except as a child I remember we used to have a little house and there was a station and we used to go to station, not too far from the station and all that.
Was it a big building? Was it a mud building? Big building?
It was not that big a building, but it was a nice building.
Okay.
Few rooms there.
What about Multan? Did you have your own home or you rented?
Multan, because when I was born, I think he didn't go to Multan at that time because he had served there before. From Kachaku we went to Kusumsar. Yeah. Kusumsar is a railway station.
Okay.
So next to railway station there was a village called Chuck number 21.
Chuck number 21.
Yeah, the villages, they were named by the numbers.
Okay.
Chuck number 21, 19, 20, like that. So Chuck number 21, where we were living close to Kusumsar, which was like Kusumsar being a little bigger town. But that village was also part of the Kusumsar, but closer to like 2-3 kilometers from there. So Kusumsar I remember because from the age of 4 till the time of partition, which was, I was close to 11 years old at that time. So most of my childhood was spent there. So I remember that place very well. I remember the Kusumsar station very well.
Now did they own a house or they rented?
This was house
in Kusumsar.
Kusumsar was house was given by the government.
Okay.
Government, yeah.
Okay. Now tell us, how was the life like? Was it a Hindu area or Hindu-Muslim mixed? Or?
It was a Hindu-Muslim mixed, but mainly Muslims.
Okay.
I would say like 30 to 70, 30% Hindus and 70% Muslims.
So you had Hindu festivities there, your shrine, temples?
Yeah. We had temple there. I remember we used to have a big grounds where we used to have Ram Leela, and the villages all around, they would come together at one central.
Muslims would also join?
Yeah, they would participate too. So the relation overall was very good between Hindus and Muslims there. Right?
Now, how many brothers and sisters you had?
We were 10 siblings, 6 sisters and 4 brothers.
Okay. And you are in the middle or end or
I was actually in the middle.
Middle, okay.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. I was like 3 brothers and a sister, and then me, and then 5 sisters after me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how was time of the migration? Do you remember anything? Who took the decision?
I remember it very vividly. I was, as I mentioned before, close to 11 years old. So one incident which I cannot forget, there are quite a few incidents, that particularly on the day of partition, August 14th, 1947.
Yeah, Pakistan became independent.
Yeah, but I'm talking about my sister was living in Khanewal. My sister was living in Khanewal. Khanewal is a place next to Kachaku, only 10 kilometers from Kachaku. So my sister, who was married, she was living there. And my parents told me that, why don't you go and visit your sister? On August 14th, they told me. My father was a very optimistic kind of guy. He said, we are hearing all about partition, but nothing will happen. We will stay on no matter whatever happens to the country. So when people were all worried, he said, well, you want to visit your sister? I said, why not? So I was close to 11 years old at that time. He put me on a bus from Kusamsar. He said, from Kusamsar, you go in the bus to Multan, and from Multan you take a train to...
By yourself?
By myself.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I said, fine, I'll go. So he put me on a bus in Kusamsar. From there I went to Multan by bus.
How long? It must be a couple of hours.
Oh no, it was more, it is like 100 kilometers, so it was 4 or 5 hours journey there.
Yes.
So I reached Multan, and from Multan he told me, well, you ask somebody, the railway station, Multan Kent. And then from Multan, I reached Multan sometime in the evening. So I remember all that. This is August 14th, 1947.
Right.
So I went to the railway station. It was evening time, and I asked the station master, I have to go to Khanewal.
Khanewal, okay.
Khanewal is actually, if you from Multan, if you go to Lahore, this is a railway station, comes in the way. From major stations are from Multan to, you can say, Kachaku, Khanewal, Okada, Chicha Batni, a few other stations. And Lahore is approximately like 300 kilometers from Multan to Lahore. So anyway, so they told me the train will come at 1:30 early in the morning after midnight. You will have to wait. I said, fine. So I sat on the platform waiting for the train to come. And it's August 14th night now. Exactly at midnight, I was not aware of this whole thing, what's going on. I had heard about this, but exactly at midnight, I am standing in the platform. Next to me was some guy, the vendor who usually sell chai wala, the tea people, a guy from UP. And then there were a lot of passengers on the platform. They were waiting for the train to go to Lahore and other places. Exactly at midnight, you could see there are few little shops and all that outside the station, all those dhabas and few other shops all of a sudden there was a big burst of flames and fire. And as somebody set fire to all those shops, and those shops were all owned by Hindus.
Okay.
And then a big group of approximately 40, 50 people rushed onto the platform from the main gate of the station, shouting, Pakistan Zindabad, Allahu Akbar. And they had, I cannot forget that scene, after all these years, they had all those daggers and swords and those spears kind of things in their hand. So they rushed in from the main gate. Right in front of that, a lot of women, children, Sikhs, Hindus, they were all sitting there, including Muslims, passengers too. I was on the side, right hand side. So as soon as they entered, they just slogans shouting, Allahu Akbar, Pakistan Zindabad, Hindus, you have to leave and all that. And then they start stabbing whosoever they could see on the platform. And they were stabbing one after the other. Sikh was very obvious with the turbans, and the Hindus, some of those Hindus you used to keep like little bodhi.
Lock of hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the back.
Yeah. So they were just stabbing everybody randomly.
In front of you?
Yeah, I'm standing on the side, and I could not believe my eyes what happened all of a sudden. It was exactly at midnight, August 14th, when, so when I was looking all that, and that guy, the chai wala, he asked me, who is with you? I said, nobody's with me, I am all alone. He said, well, they are going to kill everybody, all of us. Why don't you? He started running. He had a little hut at the end of the platform. He said, why don't you come with me? They're all going to kill us.
He was a Hindu?
He was a Hindu guy, Hindu guy from UP. There's a vendor selling chai and all that. So I just followed him, and we reached at the end of the platform where the platform finishes. He had a little hut kind of thing, and we were both standing there very, trembling and shaking, and it was dark on that side, but we could still see the platform where the lights were on, people screaming and crying, some running this way, some running, or helter-skelter, people running all over. Maybe within 20, 30 minutes, some of the people, we could see bodies lying on the platform, some people running, some people still crying because they were injured, bleeding, and those people just left the platform shouting slogans, Pakistan Zindabad, Allahu Akbar, and they left, and then we could hear voices in the background. They were going from street to street trying to kill any other Hindus they could find. And in that mess, I was kind of terrified as a child what happened. And he asked me, where are you going? I said, I have to go to Khanewal. And he said, the train is coming at 1:30. This was close to 12:30 or 12:45. He said, we still have 30 or 12:45. He said, we still have 40 minutes for the train. I don't know what are you going to do? I said, well, I don't have any other place to go. I have to visit my sister, and my brother-in-law will be there at the platform to receive me. Finally, we were all talking, but I could see, we could not dare go to the platform. We could see people crying, some people lying dead there, but others you could see still crying and asking for help, and hardly anybody was there to help, because everybody, the station master and all that, they all ran away at that time when they saw all that. Then exactly at 1:30, train came in, which come from the other side going to Lahore. And I remember the guard of the train was a Sikh gentleman with a white turban, and I still can see his uniform there, very well dressed gentleman. As soon as the train slowed down and he saw all the dead bodies there, he probably realized that there is a problem there. But before he could do anything, the train stopped, the doors opened, and then the passengers started coming down, and all of a sudden the same group of people who had come earlier another group came, I don't know, it's the same people or a different people with the same swords and spears. And they started, any Hindu, Sikh they would see, they will start stabbing them and killing them. And this fellow told me, he says, it's not safe to go to the platform side, we will go on the opposite other side. And while we were thinking it, and the guard saw all that, normally the stoppage is like 10-15 minutes. After 5 minutes, he gave a whistle and wanted the driver to start the train. And he told me, that chai wala vendor, that you better run and let's catch the train. So we were running on the other side. The last compartment was ladies' compartment. So the ladies won't open the door. He kept banging, and finally the window was open. There never used to be those kind of
There was no bar.
Yeah. So he just picked me up and
pushed
me inside the compartment, and it was ladies' compartment, and the ladies were all crying, screaming and all that, and the train left. And then there were a few stoppages in the way, but the guard did not stop it. Probably because it was a passenger train, but he didn't stop any train. And the next one station she stopped, probably Kachaku, hardly anybody got down or picked up. And then the next stop I remember was Khanewal. And I didn't see anybody on the platform, and I was scared to get down. It was early morning now, around 4 or 5 o'clock. So I got down the platform, and the train left. So, but there was nobody there. I didn't see anybody shouting or screaming. Hardly anybody even got in the train. But then I saw my brother-in-law walking towards me.
So, but he was informed that you'll be coming?
Yeah, my father had sent him a letter before that on August 14th. By this train I'll be reaching there. There were no telephones at that time. My brother-in-law knew it, my sister's husband. So when I saw him, and he was very relieved to see, number one, that I have arrived and that I am safe and sound. And all of a sudden, as soon as I met him, he said, we are in a big trouble. Today, tonight, the country has been divided. We are in a place right now where we are standing. It is a Pakistan now. And in the Khanewal town itself, a lot of killing is going on since midnight. Every Hindu mahallas or streets are being attacked by Muslims. And he said, I came to the station through back routes and all that. Now it's a problem how to get back. And it was not a good idea for you to come. He even knew that it will really happen. I said, well, now I'm here. He said, well, let's see. So we got out of the station. There were a few Tongas there. So we asked the guy, he told, sir, I will not go into the city because there's a lot of killing and fires all around the Hindu area. So I can take you this far, and after that you are on your own. I don't want to enter the city. Anyways, we went by Tonga, wherever he could take us. Then we got down on foot through back roads, and we reached at our home. It was a Hindu mahalla, Hindu area street or whatever. There used to be gated street in those days. Even now, some of the areas they have one street. There is a big gate, iron gate, and once you wait at night, they close the gates. So those were streets. These are the Hindu street, the Muslim street, like that. So once we reached there, it was close to like early morning. And we saw at the gate a lot of Hindus, young people waiting outside the gate with all kind of swords and lathis and other things. Defensive thing. Nobody had any gun or anything like that, but these kind of things, because they told us, you better walk in quickly because Muslims are coming every few minutes. Groups are coming and they are attacking, and we are trying. We don't open the gate, and as we have a little fight, and they get injured,
Yeah.
we get injured, and then they pass on. That kind of thing was going on, and they were trying to set fire. And then I saw, it was early in the morning, a lot of kids standing on the roof
Okay.
at the end of the street where the gate was, with little stones and those mirchi, that long mirchi.
Yeah, chili.
Chili.
powder.
Chili powder, red
Yeah.
chili powder. So they had like a chili powder in little baskets, sacks, yeah. And the kids were, as soon as those people like Muslims who are attacking, they would come, they would throw stones, kids, and the chili powder. And they assigned me to, as soon as I walked in, okay, you go and take your thali platter, and this is chili. As soon as you see you keep throwing chilies and stones. And these people were fighting. So this became a daily routine.
Okay.
Turn by turn, the shifts, people
Yeah.
would stand at the gate, fight with those hooligans, and the kids would stand there. And this went on, and there was all the communication stopped. There were no telephones, the postage.
You didn't know what was happening to your parents?
No, we didn't know. Even the parents didn't know whether I even reached there.
Yeah. What's the name of your parents, mother and father?
My father's name was Shri Hukam Chand. My father's name was Shri Hukam Chand Pahuja.
Kumchand Pahuja,
My mother's name was Shrimati Satyavati Pahuja.
Fruktavati Pahuja. And now your brother-in-law and sister?
Yeah, his sister's name was Savitri Devi
Savitri Devi.
Varma, and brother-in-law's name was Kishori Lal Varma.
Krishna. So what happened then? Then how long did you stay there?
I stayed there. We kind of got stuck there for a month, from August 15th.
Okay.
I'm talking about August 15th, early morning, and till almost middle of September.
Oh.
It was happening every day, kind of thing, looting and fires and all that. Because my brother-in-law and other Hindus, they were all wondering, maybe it's a temporary thing, everything will settle down and we will stay on. So, and they were asking me, what do you want to do? I said, well, there is no way I can go back home, they won't set me to. He said, well, we are thinking if things don't improve, the situations don't improve, then we may leave this place. Because people, after like 3-4 weeks, people started to leave.
Now, they had their own house? Or they were
They
renting
had,
a-
no, they had their own house.
Okay.
My sister had.
So they had their family there, parents and
No,
grandparents?
no, parents were in their ancestral home in Tausa Sharif.
Tosa,
Tausa, yeah.
Sorry, that's also in Punjab.
That's in Punjab. It is a district, Dera Ghazi Khan.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, district Dera Ghazi Khan. And it is roughly from Multan, it is like 140 kilometer.
No.
Tausa Sharif, north.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's north. And so that is my ancestral home too.
Oh.
For centuries, my parents, my mother's parents, my sisters in-laws, and
Yeah.
even my brothers-in-laws, they were all from that area of Pakistan. I mean India at
yeah,
that
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And
So
for
what
cent-
happened then?
So we, after 3 weeks, I remember roughly, my brother-in-law told me that all the people living in this Hindu street have decided to move now. They will make a kind of caravan, everybody, and will move towards Lahore. And Lahore from there is close to 250 kilometers. They say we will go on foot and let's see what happens.
On foot?
On foot, I mean there is no other transportation. People have those like bullock carts.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
all
but
that,
you had to pull it anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but basically the plan
Yeah.
was, and he told me what exactly. I said, well, he said there is no way we can communicate with your parents, and you come along with us. I said, okay. So I was mentally ready, and then one day, all of a sudden, we got a little note. A boy from the street walked into the gate and said, well, there is a one gentleman standing across the road. He sent a little note for, and my name was written there, and my brother-in-law's name was written there too. And that note was from my father. And the gentleman, my father had written in Urdu. He was very Urdu scholar too. That the gentleman who is bringing this letter is a colleague of mine, a teacher, Muslim teacher. His name he mentioned Qudratullah or something like that.
Qudratullah. Okay.
And he says he's a teacher, our colleague, and I was familiar with the name too, because I was a student in that school also, and my father was the headmaster in that school.
Okay.
So, and he said he will bring me, Jagan, back to us, because we don't know what is the situation there, but he says situation here is not good too. Every day we are being attacked and local people are trying to protect us, but people, Muslims from surrounding villages are coming and attacking us almost every day. So you better send Jagan with him.
Okay.
At least he will be with us. Then we will decide what to do. So my brother-in-law asked him, do you want to go with him? I said, yeah, I know him, so I'll go with him. So then my brother-in-law moved out and met him.
Okay.
That when do you want to go back? And then he gave the date. In a couple of days he's leaving. He said if you could bring the boy outside that gate spot, and then I'll take him to bus stand and we will go by bus. So he fixed up the time, and exactly at that time he was there. My brother-in-law took me to him and then left, and he said goodbye, okay, in a day or two we are also moving towards Lahore and hope you reach safe and sound to your parents. Sister and brother-in-law, I mean, they were all very, very worried, but there was no option. So I went with that person. He took me in a Tonga to bus stand, and from bus stand there was a bus going from this Khanewal to Vihari.
Okay.
And Vihari is the main town, which was around 5 kilometers from Kusamsar,
Okay.
and like 6-7 kilometers from our village. So he said it will take 4 or 5 hours for the bus to get there from Khanewal to Vihari. All right, so we boarded the bus. It was sometime evening time, like late afternoon. Those things I cannot forget because they are imprinted in the brain. So we boarded the bus, and bus hardly maybe for half an hour or so outside the Khanewal, then it broke down. And they told the bus were all Muslims, no Hindu in the bus at all. Hindus were not traveling at all, buses or trains or anything, because they are afraid they will be killed. So the bus broke down, and the conductor and the driver came out. He said, you better everybody get down, and it will take us a little time to fix it. So everybody came out of the bus and stopped on the side near the road, and we were standing there, and Muslims were all talking about this Pakistan and all this politics and other things, and I was just standing there listening. My hands were like this. If you look at the hand, my hand has this thing, Om.
So lift it,
Om, if you can see that. It has a written in Hindi, Om. So written in Hindi, Om. So one of the Muslim guy, because I was standing with my folded hands, he was able to see this Om, and he came to me, what is this? And before I could say anything, the Hindu, that Muslim teacher who was accompanying me, he said, well, this looks like some kind of flower. He said, no, this is not a flower, this is Om. So this is a Hindu boy. How come Hindu boy is in our bus? So he kind of shouted, oh, we have a Hindu here. So as soon as he shouted that there is a Hindu here, people were standing all around. One young guy, he had like a big spear, you know what it is, with a big stick with a little pointy dagger kind
Okay,
of thing
yeah,
at the
yeah.
end. Yeah. So he ran towards me with a spear in hand. Oh, Hindu here, how come Hindu got in our bus? So he ran towards me to stab me, and that Muslim teacher was there. No, 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 he's not a Hindu anymore. He shouted, he is a Muslim now. So he came in front of me to protect me. But in the meantime, that guy didn't care or listen. So as soon as he was just reaching me, that guy came right in front of me, and that spear went right into his abdomen area. So he got stabbed.
The teacher?
The teacher
Oh.
got stabbed because he came right in
Yeah,
front
yeah,
of me to protect me. So he got stabbed, and I still remember that scene because I am standing behind him, but there was a blood gushing out from his
Oh my gosh.
from his belly, and he fell down there. And then everybody's attention was towards him now, on him, what happened to him. First they thought he is the Hindu guy who has been stabbed, but they didn't realize that it's the Muslim teacher, and that teacher had like beard and a little
Yeah.
cap
Skull
kind of,
cap,
yeah.
yeah.
So everybody's attention got towards him, and everybody forgot what happened to Hindu and all that. In all that confusion, there was another Muslim elderly gentleman who was standing next to me. He just pulled me out of that crowd. And then he asked me, everybody was there was a lot of confusion. And he asked me, who are you? I said, I'm a Hindu boy, this is my name. And this is my father's colleague teacher, and he's taken to my hometown. And he said, you know, right now everybody's attention is on him. Nobody knows what's going on. It is already, sun was setting. It was a little bit dusk time. He says, best thing is, I have to protect you somehow. He said, I am also going to Vihari, where the terminal station for the bus is. So he finally, he said, why don't you come with me? They were fixing the bus at that time. He said, you climb up the top of the bus where the luggage is. He had a little mat, something like this, a little mat rolled up. He climbed up with me, he opened the mat, he said, you just slide inside the wrapped mat and just stay there. Don't move, don't say anything till the bus reaches our destination. When the time comes, I will come up and then pull you out. Nobody will know who is there. I says, fine. So it was a mat, I don't know if you know. In India we call it chatai.
Chatai, chatai.
Yeah. So I just slide it in. He came back down, and then the next thing I remember is after maybe few minutes or half an hour or so, all that lot of sounds outside, they stopped, and then the driver shouted, okay, everybody in, and the bus started. There were a lot of stoppages in the way, and every stop that other Muslim gentleman will come up and stay close to where I am in that mat and just whisper that you don't move, I'm here. People are bringing their luggage up and down, so that nobody knows that I'm here. Finally, it was, I remember, close to middle of the night, we reached Vihari. I remember it was a moonlit night. He came up and he told me, I am waiting for everybody to pick their luggage first, then I will bring you down. And then everybody picked their luggage up, then he opened the mat, and then he brought me down, and he told me nobody even knew what happened. I said, I didn't even ask what happened to the teacher and all that. He said, you just tell me where your village is. I said, it's Kusam sir is 5 kilometers, and then next thing is 2 kilometers, but I know a shortcut also. It's like a 5-6 kilometers. He said, all right, I'll take you to your home. So he left his luggage in that bus stand in the cloakroom. He went with me. I didn't have any luggage, like a little bag kind of thing, and he went with me because he didn't know the way, I knew the way. So we reached home around like 1 o'clock, 1:30.
You walked?
We walked.
Okay.
In the fields
Yeah,
and
yeah,
villages and all
yeah.
that. We walked. It was September, mid-September. So we walked and we knocked at our house door when we got there. And my parents, middle of the night, they will not open the door because every night the Muslims would come and try to attack them.
Yeah.
First, no, then I started shouting that it is me knocking the door, and he was kind of surprised. At this time, no train, no bus, nothing comes, and how come this fellow is? So he couldn't believe. Anyways, he opened the door, he saw me. Anyways, he opened the door, he saw me, and he saw another Muslim gentleman in place of his friend, teacher. And then this gentleman told him the whole story that your friend who was protecting him, he got stabbed while trying to protect your child. They took him to the hospital. He remembers that he was still alive when they took him to the hospital, but I don't know what happened afterwards.
Do you know the name of this, your savior gentleman?
No, I don't remember. But the teacher's name was Qudratullah.
Of course, you call uncle or something at that time.
Yeah.
Because you never call by name.
Yeah, right, yeah. But because he never knew me, he never knew my father, so I didn't know the name.
Then he left?
He just
back?
left.
Oh.
He just dropped me. He told my father what happened, and he left. My father thanked him very much, and my shirt was all soaked with blood because all the blood
from that teacher
was mine. So my father saved that shirt. He said, my friend saved you, and this is his blood, so at least it's a remembrance. So he would never wash that shirt even. He said, let's save
Do you
it.
still have it?
No, I mean, in that, there's a long story to go. Anyway, so finally we settled down there. So this is mid-September.
Yeah.
Then my father told me, because at that time in the house, it was me and 5 sisters. And one of my older brother was a student, a matriculate student in Multan.
Okay.
So he came home when everything started. So he came home at that time. So he was home too at that time. So he was a matric student. I was 6th grade. And then my younger sister was like a 5-year-old, 4-year-old, 3, something like that. So there was 6 of us, 6 siblings at home at that time. The other 4 people were outside me, older brothers in a job in different towns and all that. Then of course every day there were attacks, but father being a teacher, there are a lot of local Muslims would protect us.
Okay.
Every time there was an attack. But finally one day one of the Muslim head came and told my father that looks like we cannot protect you anymore because they are trying to kill us too now. They say if you protect any Hindus, so you better leave because a lot of people are leaving now. So then we decided to leave, and it was a big problem how to do and all that. And then my father decided at that time that 4 of you leave first. 4 of us, me and my older brother who was 15-year-old, I was 11 years old, and my sisters like 7 and 6 and those kind. So he said, you go, 4 of you go with all those caravans to Lahore, and then we will see what happens. If the things settle down, we will stay on. If not, then we will also move.
So you went to Lahore by caravan?
Yeah, we went to Lahore, and a lot of things happened in the way. So
was the caravan did you walk, or it's like
walk. Few places I remember at some distance there was some truck or so too who was trying to carry little kids or women or something. Couple of trucks were there too, but basically the people were all walking, and then the trucks in between also left us, and everybody was walking.
So it was how many kilometers? 200?
It's from Vihari to Lahore. It is almost close to 300 kilometers.
So it's a very long.
Many days.
Long trail of humans. Were there any attacks on you?
Oh yeah, many attacks in the way. Lot of attacks, because our parents, we didn't have anything with us, just 3 clothes, and mother made some food and all that, chapatis and all that, so that
that's all.
Yeah, that's all. nothing else, because everything was decided nick of the time. The caravan was passing, so they said maybe you can join this one too. So that's how we
So
decided.
were the caravans protected by police or anything?
No, there was no protection, just the local protection. The younger guy would go around the periphery, the elderly and kids will stay in the middle. The same thing with the swords and all that. The attacks would come.
It was a long chain of 200 mile,
Yeah.
300 miles.
And at the middle of the night, somewhere they will stop in the field. They will cook. People had some kind of food so that they can cook. They will make a little fire, cook, and then start again. But they were quite a few. Then it's a long story. To make it short, we reached in 2 weeks Lahore.
Okay.
And then Lahore, there was a DAV college. Lahore itself was converted into a refugee camp. And everybody was converging into that from all over.
It's a Hindu college.
It's a Hindu college.
Yeah.
Dayanand
Dayanand,
Anglo-Vedic.
Vedic, yes.
Yeah, DAV college. It's a Hindu college, and it's a big campus. It's a huge campus with a lot of dorms and all that. So there were thousands and thousands of Hindu refugees converting.
And Sikhs also.
Yeah,
With
Hindu
you-
Sikhs.
And you were going together.
All together, yeah. So we stayed there for 2 weeks in that camp in Lahore. Then from Lahore to Amritsar, it's through Wagah border, which is only like 30 miles, at least not that far. There were army trucks. So from Lahore to Amritsar up to the border was safe. At least we were transported by the trucks, by the army trucks. And I remember that. That's another long story. I don't know how much time we have.
No, we don't. Yeah, go ahead. Because I have a few more questions. Now, what happened to your parents? How many days later they came?
Oh, that's what I was going to tell you. It's 2 weeks we were in Lahore. Then eventually we ended up in Amritsar.
Okay.
At the Wagah border, the army trucks dropped us. Our turn came late. And what we used to do in Lahore, it's another story. Then, because those things I remember very vividly. Then from there, they told us, okay, you from the border, you walk on foot. It's a 15 miles to the Khalsa College, Amritsar, which was closer to the border area, Atari. There was a refugee camp. That was the first camp. And there was a huge campus, girls' college, boys' college, and dorms, and all the dorms were, by the time we reached there, the dorms were filled. So once we reached that Khalsa College, Amritsar, there was kind of registration desk. They would ask your name, parents' name, where are you coming from. So they will give us
So
each.
your family was headed at this time by your 15-year-old
Yeah,
old
15-year-old,
brother.
brother. That's it, four of us. We don't know what happened to our parents and all that.
Or your sisters, all sisters.
Nothing, we were just in that thick of the thing. So finally, we were given, I remember, 2 blankets each at the registration desk, the Khalsa College, Amritsar. 1 blanket, 2 blankets per person, and they gave us, I think, 1 rupee or 2 rupees, something like that. And they told us, you go inside, if there is any tent available, you will get it, otherwise you will have to sleep on the ground. So it is like October now. October in Amritsar, North India gets chilly. So I remember we could not find any tent or anything, so we slept under a tree in the college grounds. There was trees all over under the tree. So there are 4 of us, and then few other people came under the tree. So we put 1 blanket underneath and 1 blanket over. And then there was a free langars, they call it, free food kitchens from the college. So we would go and eat in the kitchen, and then so we spent like 2-3 weeks there in that. Then they told us to move on. So there were free trains, buses for refugees. You keep moving from one town to another so that they can make room for
the new arrivals.
It's a long story. Finally, to make the story short, it took us 1 year to find each other, rest of our family members, because everybody came through different routes and all that. When my mother, father and the other little sisters, they were coming in a caravan, they got attacked, and in that confusion my mother and sisters went one way and the father was another way, so they got separated too.
Oh.
So my father was somewhere else, he didn't know, and he was hiding from Muslims, and he was hiding from Muslims, and my mother and little kids somehow reached again through the border on their own few little time later. But I remember one thing, it was January 30th, 1948, the day Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated. We were in Firozpur at that time. I'll tell you how did we reached there. We found our father.
Oh.
He was crossing the border from Firozpur side. There is a Amritsar border, there is a Firozpur side, Hussainiwala border. So I was standing at the border looking for maybe somebody, and so we found our father.
Oh my God.
Then at least father was there, and then my brother, and then of course they started looking from camp to camp. I remember it was close to 1 year. We finally found all our family members, all safe, at least brothers, sisters, after 1 year.
Okay.
But it's a lot of stories in between and all that. And then of course we lost a lot of relatives, and but we all came. The only property once we entered India was 2 blankets given by the government and 1 rupee each.
See, and from there you come. Now, probably should go on. Actually, that's why we need to save these stories. I mean, now, do you know? I mean, does anybody benefit because of this partition?
I don't think so. Maybe Muslim politicians benefited.
No.
But because they wanted a separate country, Islamic country and all that, lot of general population, I don't know if they were in favor of it, but maybe the politicians benefited from it.
Yeah. Now, do you know why in Pakistan people, Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists couldn't stay, but in India Muslims could stay?
Well, because most of the things happened in Punjab side, because the Punjab was the one which was divided. So what was happening I could see, because while I was in Khanewal, stayed for a month, you could see trains. If the Muslims would kill everybody in the train going to Amritsar, once that train reaches Amritsar, all full of dead bodies, then the Hindu Sikhs would stop the train. The Muslims going from Indian side to Pakistan, they would do the same thing too.
But
so it was a really
but from Sindh they came. There's and other Gujarat or Bengal, Muslims stayed there. So in India, more or less they stayed.
But the main problem was in the Punjab, because Punjab is the one which was divided.
Yes.
They were asked to move, or they were forced to move. But other states, there are a lot of Muslims, nobody was asked to move, and it was an option, and people decided not to leave.
Now, do you think Hindus and Muslims and non-Muslims stay together?
Now or at that time?
Or now, I mean?
Well, at that time they have been staying together for centuries. I mean, if you see that, I mean, Hindu Muslims have been staying.
There have been many killings too.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some killings. Even now it happens, killings on religious basis. But they have been staying together. They could have still stayed together. But now the teachings there in Pakistan, even the students, even I see colleagues who are physicians from that area who was born after partition, they don't know what went on. Whatever they are taught in the schools, just a hatred towards the Hindu or Indians. So that kind of thing, if you keep instilling in the children, their attitude is altogether different.
Did you revisit your place?
I visited my place in 2005.
Very recently.
Yeah, recently.
So which places did you visit?
I visited actually all the places which I mentioned. I visited Multan, I visited Vihari, I visited Kusamsar, I visited that village at Chuck number 21.
And did you
I
find
visited Khanewal. I visited Kachaku also.
Did you go yourself or you took your family?
No. I was alone.
Okay.
I had gone actually, there was some kind of meeting in Lahore, medical meeting.
Okay.
And the Pakistani Association, Physicians Association, had invited Indian physicians to come and attend the meeting.
Okay.
So it was early, like January 2005, but I think somewhere in the May or so there was an earthquake,
Okay.
2005.
Yeah.
So the meeting got cancelled.
Okay.
The medical meeting got cancelled. It was supposed to be Lahore. 100 Indian physicians had signed up. And I was the one who were more interested because I wanted to go and see. Rest of the Indian physicians were from South India or they were born after partition, so they didn't have much interest. A lot of people from Gujarat and all that, so they all backed out.
Okay.
And in the end, after the earthquake, when the things settled down, the Pakistani physicians leader,
Yeah.
their president, they called leader,
Yeah.
their president, they called our president, the Indian physicians, that anybody is still interested. So then our president, of course, sent email to everybody, so only 6-7 people showed interest. So I was one of those. So he said, all right, so he said, you give me your details, we will make sure you get visa quickly. So our visa was arranged in one day through Washington, Pakistan's embassy.
So how did you go there?
So what we did was, I went from New York to Delhi. From Delhi, I took a flight to Lahore. The others, people, they from New York went to Bombay, and from Bombay they went to Karachi. And the meeting place was in Rawalpindi, Islamabad. Yeah, so they had planned that instead of that meeting, they are going to have some kind of disaster management meeting. All the international physicians were invited to them. So I eventually went to Lahore, and then from Lahore I went to
So tell me about, but when you went to those places, what was your feeling like?
Well, to me, I actually have brought pictures too. Whatever I had seen, I remember as a little child, Kachaku, my birthplace, I didn't see any after, it was almost 58, 60 years I'm going there. Hardly any change at all. Actually, it even looked worse. The platform, I brought pictures to Kachaku and all that. Didn't look any change at all. I went to Vihari. There were some changes, new construction and all that. I went to Kusamsar. Kusamsar used to be I had a hard time finding the Kusamsar. It's another big story because they changed the name.
Oh, I see.
So
what is the name now?
The name is now Nagarabad. Nagrabad, Nagrabad.
Oh, Nagrabad.
They changed the name, and actually I was lucky because everybody else left after our medical meeting, so I stayed back because I wanted to, And one of our friends here in Muslim doctor from Pakistan, he's my colleague, and I told him I want to visit Multan, and he told me my brother lives there, so he'll take care of you. So instead of booking a hotel and all that, why don't you, I'll call my brother. So his brother was there to receive me at the airport, and I stayed at his place. Very, very nice gentleman, very hospitable, I must say that. So he took me around in his car. I told him I want to go to Kachaku. He was living in Multan, and then of course all these places. In his own car, he took me to all these places.
So did you find your house? That's my point. Did you find your house?
We did find the house finally.
Chapter 21.
Yeah, actually, number one, they asked me about that, how to get to your house. I told them that it's again a little story there, how to get to that place. They said there's no place called Kusamsar. If we cannot find Kusamsar, we cannot find Chuck number 20. I said, if you go from this place towards Kasur railway station, the first station used to be Kusamsara, and he told me there is no station, there is no
Station by that name.
name. I said, well, if you don't mind, they had dropped the idea. I said, I have come that far. So he said, okay. So he drove me to Vihari. Vihari is almost 100 kilometers. So from Vihari, I said, if you go towards Kasur, the first town used to be Kusamsara. And we went to the first town. The board was written there, Nagarabad. And I said, but this was used to be a Kusamsar. Nobody would believe me. We asked people around. I said, if we can find somebody who's above 70s, if he has been living here, we found one elderly gentleman and asked him, there used to be any railway station here? He says, yeah, there was a railway station here. The station is abandoned, but you go that side, you will see remnants of the station and the railway line passes through there. And sure enough, we went to that remnant, a building was standing there, not a building, wall. And on that wall it was written there, Kusamsar.
So you see?
So Kusamsar, that elderly person didn't know that, but he knew about the station. But I saw Kusamsar written in Urdu as well as English. And then it's just one wall, rest of the station, everything's gone. We could see the remnants of platform. And I told him, now I can tell you where my village is. I told him from station you go 1 kilometer this way, and then you take a road right side, a canal will come
Now,
and all that.
So is there any Hindu left there?
No, there was no Hindu, hardly any Hindu
No
in
Sikh?
Punjab. No, except in Gurdwara, Nankana Sahib and all that.
Yeah, I went there actually. There.
But hardly any Hindu lives there.
Those-
Maybe some Hindus live in Sindh, I heard, but Punjab.
Even Nankana Sahib, I was told they are Westbury Sikh. Now, I'm almost to the end. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you want to add?
No, you asked me all the pertinent things. There are a lot of little stories, what we went through and all that. But I think the gist of the things I told you, everything.
Thank you very much. I appreciate for your time. Thank you.